talks about 4-year test for Agnipath. The article talks about, let me start by saying that there is a little doubt that military requires restructuring, particularly 1.2 million strong army. A leaner military would lead to manpower cost savings that could be utilized for modernization and technology adoption. Agnipath scheme is designed to reduce the salary and pension expenditure, although government is reluctant to admit that this is the primary factor behind this decision. Advantage of Agnipath scheme have been brought out in the briefings held on June 14th. It would lead to a more youthful and technically adapt military force. By picking only 25% of Agniveers for permanent absorption, military will get the best people to form the core of the junior leadership. There are also challenges. What is the ideal mix of Agniveers and permanent soldiers in the army that faces both external and internal threats daily? What would be the motivation level of Agniveers? Majority of whom know that they will be out of military after 4 years. A 6-month training period sufficient for soldiers, many of whom would be straight away pushed into life and death situations along borders or in a counter-terrorism operations. We must go through the one complete life cycle of Agniveers to fully understand how they will fit into the. We must go through one complete life cycle of Agniveer to fully understand how they will fit into the different roles, from combat to logistic to technical services. Each of these roles have different skills and adaptations to different conditions. 4-year period would enable an accurate assessment of how successfully the retired Agniveers can transition to satisfactory second career. And also, the soldier prioritizes the nation's needs above his own, and including putting himself in a harm's way in the pursuit of his duties. In return, nation promises him dignity, respect, and term of service that will provide him and his family with appropriate compensation for his sacrifices. This would be guiding principle even for the soldiers who leave service, and the nation must respond to their needs. The onus to make a scheme a success lies primarily on the soldiers of the younger military leaders who command units and subunits. They must strive to ensure that military professionalism remains at the highest level. At the same time, the political leadership must also understand that there is uniqueness to those who serve in the military. Next article that we are moving into is related to steady flags, emergence of drug-resistant typhoid strains. The effectiveness of antibiotics for typhoid fever is threatened by the emergence of resistant strain, according to a large genome sequence study by of bacteria Salmonella typhi published in the Lancet Microbe. The strains were classified as MDR if they had genes giving resistance to antibiotic ampicillin, chloroamphenicol, trimethofurin, sulfamethoxazole. Strains resistant to antibiotics have been in India, Bangladesh, Nepal, and Pakistan. Next article is all about the point of interest rate hike. The article talks about what is inflation, how it affects you. Inflation is a rate at which the prices rise. A 2% inflation implies a general price rise in the April this year was 2% more than what it was April last year. Why is inflation bad? Apart from making things costly, it essentially erodes the basis on which one makes economic decisions. What is recession? Technical definition of recession requires an economy to contract for 2 consecutive quarters. A quarter is a period of 3 months that we know. What is recession means? Technical definition of recession requires an economy to contract for 2 consecutive quarters, that is 6 months. What is causing inflation? Both Fed and RBI have stated that current inflationary spike is due to supply constraint, in particular due to rising cost of food and fuel. But how will rising interest rate reduce the food or oil prices? Food or fuel prices? It won't. The central bankers know they cannot bring down food and fuel prices by forcing banks to charge the highest interest rate from people wanting to buy new car or opening a new shop or even taking an education or home loan. Then why are central banks rising? The answer lies in what are called inflation expectations. Simply, inflation expectation refers to people's expectation of what the inflation rate will be in future, and they matter because these expectations are what determine people's economic behavior. Especially so when you expect your income to go up by just 10% in the meantime, the chances you will buy the car today when the inflation was not yet eroded your purchasing power. Alternatively, imagine a scenario when you think prices will go down in the coming years, this phenomena is called deflation. In such a case, you might postpone the buying car, hoping to buy it for next year. And what the net effect of the this individual decision to advance or postpone purchases as per higher wages determine the course of country's economy. When a central bank raises the interest rate, and while it may not be able to increase the supply of food and fuel, it does dampen the demand of these goods. For instance, dismayed by higher interest rates, many may postpone buying a new car, thus reducing the demand for fuel. Next article is all about summer solstice. What is summer solstice? June 21 is the longest day of year in the northern hemisphere. Why do day and night duration varies? Let us see that. June 21 Tuesday was the summer solstice, the day with the longest sunlight hours in the northern hemisphere. On December 21 every year, this hemisphere has a winter solstice. The night is longest. The reason why the day and night hours are different from one day to the next lies in the Earth's tilt or 23.5 degree angle between its axis of rotation and its orbital plane. The day occurs on the side of the Earth facing the Sun, and changes to night as the Earth spins. On the equator, the day and night are equal. As one moves further and further away, the difference between the length of the day and night grows. That makes the variation most extreme at poles. During summer in the northern hemisphere, the entire polar region receives 24 hours of daylight for months, and during the winter, the region is into darkness for months. The Earth's tilt also defines certain lines of latitude based on which have a summer and winter solstice at the latitudes of 23.5 degree or tropics of Cancer and Capricorn respectively on north and southern side of the equator. At 66.5 degree north is the Arctic Circle, 66.5 degrees south Antarctic Circle. On the day of sun is directly overhead of Tropic of Cancer, and this is summer solstice in the northern hemisphere. When this happens on the Tropic of Capricorn, it is a winter solstice. On the equator, the sun is directly overhead on 2 days. They are spring equinox in March and autumn equinox in August. Across Earth, day and nights are of equal length on these 2 days. Next article talks about why Israel is headed to 5th election in 3 years. What now? The article talks about Israel's fragile and short-lived coalition government announced on Monday that it would submit a bill next week to dissolve the parliament and setting the stage for the 5th election in 3 years. The possible return to power of the country's longest-serving Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Electoral process. Israel do not have the written constitution. According to its basic laws, election to parliament were held by every 4 years unless the Knesset decides by ordinary majority to dissolve and trigger any early election. Unlike in India, Israel voters vote for parties and not specific candidates. All Israeli citizens aged 18 and older are eligible to vote. Palestinians living on Israel occupied territory cannot vote. There are 120 seats in Knesset, and to form the government, a party needs at least 61. After the members of the Knesset have been elected, Israel's president chooses the candidate that he believes has the best chance of forming the coalition. This is what the article talks about. Next economy article is related to RBI puts a stop to credit lines on prepaid instrument. What are PPIs? RBI defines PPI as a payment instrument which facilitates buying of goods and services, including transfer of funds, financial services, remittance against the value stored within or on the instrument. Next article that we are moving is related to India's fourth in the gold recycling. 75 tons reprocessed in 21. India has emerged as the fourth largest gold recycler with 75 tons recycled in 2021 as per the World Gold Council WGC report. Next article that we are moving into is related to, this is the gold refined by informal sector in India, and this is what they are saying. Okay, next article that we are moving into is related to that's all. If you like the video, no, excuse me, one article is there here in the world section. India and China may buy discounted Russian oil, making up Europe's cutback. A surge in the demand for Asia for discounted Russian oil is making up for sharply lower numbers of barrels being sold to Europe. Most of the additional oil has gone to two countries, that is China and India. China's import of Russian oil rose to 28% in May for the previous month, and most of the increase went to India, which has gone from taking in almost no Russian oil to bringing in more than 760,000 barrels a day. Lithuania's decision to bar Moscow from shipping certain goods by rail to the Russian territory of Kaliningrad will result in a response that will have a significant negative impact on Lithuanian people. This is what the article talks about. If you like the video, please do share, like, comment and subscribe. Thank you.